All right, what's up, guys? It's March 1st, 2019. This is my week in review. Um, this is also week five of me switching over to FX full time and trading commodities more, and kind of keeping Bitcoin in the background as well as not really trading stocks anymore. So yeah, I just kind of want to document every single week and kind of show you guys the ins and outs of what I'm doing and how long it takes me to be consistently profitable and make money week in and week out. Because a lot of the people on Twitter they don't really show you that stuff, right? Um, so yeah, let's get into it. I had an all right week. It was up and down. I had a couple of decent trades, had a couple trades that I probably shouldn't have taken, and a couple of ones, not probably shouldn't have taken, definitely some that I shouldn't have taken, and then a couple that I could have reduced the risk on if I had been managing more actively. Um, I'm going to focus more on the losers. I'll briefly cover my winners, but I'm going to really dive into the losers on this one and talk about the how I could have reduced the risk and then how I could have actually been taking more trades based on that. I did take a lot of trades this week. It was I don't know, there was a lot of moves in the week. I have been kind of stepping on the brakes recently just because the market hasn't really been giving us anything, right? In terms of it's been kind of range bound on the pairs that I trade. So I've been kind of just taking it easy, taking one or two setups a week, just the best ones that I find. This week, I kind of took a couple more and I saw that my setup selection was a little less less selective, and that kind of led to a couple bad trades. But the overall theme of it that is that I was right on the terms of what was going to move and what the movers were going to be for the week, and it's just more of timing. That's kind of always been my general theme and my general weakness is timing, and that's a big thing, right? That's not something easy that you can just kind of fix. It's easier said than done. So that's really what I'm focusing on, and that's what I'm noticing as well as in terms of timing is early in the week trades are usually not my best setups, and I usually tend to get better towards the end of the week. So I started taking reduced size on Mondays, going into Tuesdays unless I see something very clear in one of the kill zones. So this was a long I took with half size. I said, okay, fine. If dollar yen is making bullish market structure, right? It made a high, low, right? It's kind of chopping, chopping, chopping. It makes a higher high. I'm kind of looking for the retest on the H4, the down move that led to the break in market structure, right? And at the same time, yen index was looking weak, and it had broken a major support level. So it had just broken down into the back into the major range, the high time frame range, and dollar index was trapped in a range itself within Monday's kind of just chopping around Monday. So this is why I took this with half size. I wasn't really. I liked this trade, and it was also during the Asian session. So those because of those reasons, I took half size. But we can kind of see this is what it looked like when I got in, and if we let's just get out of this. Right. So this is how it ended up playing out. So it bounced here, and then it kind of broke below weekly open. And as soon as it broke below weekly open, I was like, all right, this is probably going to drop. So that's where I played my stop really, really tight in here. So I got taken out on this down move, right, on a lower time frame. And so that was a minus half hour, which is fine. That was totally okay. But this is where I was looking to switch my bias, which I did, right? I was like, all right, fine. Found resistance here. It sold off. It's now broken Monday's low. It's broken this pivot cleanly, right? I'm looking for a retest into the weekly open, and I'm looking to short that. And so we'll go into that trade later. The next trade that I took was dollar CAD. So at this point, I'm minus half hour. Dollar CAD. So when I was looking at dollar CAD, this is the high time frame range. If you go back to my other videos, I had a high time frame range marked out. I've just been kind of tweaking it a little bit. I like this one a little bit more, just the way price action's been reacting around this mid-range level right now. I really like that. But so basically, if you remember what we were talking about, we're like, all right, this thing kind of doesn't really waste any time when it sells off, and it's kind of popping up now, but I think that could be due to the sell-off in oil as well. But anyways, so we were looking for basically continued downside. So it popped up here, back into resistance, right in here. And I was basically looking for it to come back down into the mid-range, right? It was around here, and I was looking for it to come back down. Um, and this is the dollar CAD chart. So this is Monday, right? We had our range established, Monday's low, Monday's high, right? This is previous week's low, and this is also the weekly open, okay? So we rallied off that, chopped around here, right? Broke above it, and as soon as it broke below it, that's when I was interested. And this is what kind of confirmed this is a support level also. Right here is this touch right here. So as soon as this touch here, I was like, all right, this is the dealing range I'm going to be using to kind of get on board, right? This high to this low. This is the dealing range. So if we want to drop down to a 5 minute, So this is our dealing range right here that we're looking at. This right here, right? And then it breaks out above it, comes back below it, right? And then when it broke this, then this is the retest I was looking to sell right here. Um, and basically got in on that wick right there. And then I was looking for the weekly open because if you look at where our high time frame range was, is that comes in right at the mid range right there, right? So that's why I was looking at that for the weekly open. And so I got broke below the support level, right? Resistance, 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 resistance. Couldn't break back above it. Sells off, breaks below this low, and then eventually hits our target. So I was able to close that trade for 2.99R, about 3R. And then after that, I was basically looking for a clean smash below the weekly open and a retest of that to get short again. Because if you look at our range again, right? If we were looking for the further downside, so this is our range, our macro range. If we were still bearish on this pair and we're looking for further downside, I'm not going to just hold this through a macro support, right? Unless this is a high time frame trade, which it wasn't, right? You saw I took it on the 5-minute and the 15-minute. So I'm not just going to hold this expecting it to get smashed through, right? I would have taken a majority of profit. In this case, I took all of my profit and then I was waiting for a clean break because you can always get back in, right? Clean break and then retest here and take it lower. Okay, so that was my dollar CAD trade. It never really gave us that breakdown there, so then I was kind of stopped looking at it at that point. Well, I was looking at it later on for other things, but that short thesis was invalidated until this actually cleanly broke below here and then retested it and then broke lower, right? So the next trade I took was dollar yen again. So this was the point I was talking about, right? This was the H4 level. Well, our H4 level was down here. There was a new H4 level, the up move before the down move, okay? And this was weekly open. So this is why I picked this level. Okay, we had it come back, small time frame retest, sell off, kind of went below Monday's low, reclaim Monday's low. Get rid of this. All right, so it came up, and if you look, it just smashed right through a weekly open. It never really gave us the breakdown here. And this is why I shouldn't have taken this trade, right? There was no trigger. There was no trigger at all. So it cleanly smashed through the weekly open. I should have been waiting for it to find resistance there and then sell off, right? And this is where I could have been flipping my bias as well. Because if we look at how this played out, right? You don't really have a trade at this point, right? You shouldn't be taking this short here because there's nothing giving you a trigger. It clearly smashed right through weekly open and closed right through it. So even if you did take this short, I should have been cutting it right here, not waiting for it to take out my stop. Okay. So I did take a full R loss on this. But again, that's not a trade I should have been taking. There was no reason for me to get in. There wasn't enough confluence there for me to take this level blindly, which I do have rules for that, right? There are certain triggers that I look for. I need to have at least 3 confluence levels on things that I look for, which are fibs, a couple other things on high time frames. But there wasn't enough confluence there for me to short that blindly, so I should have been waiting for the breakdown. And this is where I could have been switching my bias, right? Fine, it didn't give me that breakdown, but now that it's made this low, right, below the weekly open, it's got back above the weekly open, right, and it comes back here and it's finding support here, what does that mean? Right? If you're expecting it to be an up week because at this point dollar is breaking down and it's finding support at the weekly open, you should be looking for longs, right? So this is the mitigation trade that I could have taken, that I should have been taking, and I probably wouldn't have been aiming for all of this, right? This is my weekly level, the pink and the blue daily level. I wouldn't have been aiming for this. It would have just been from here to here, or even just here to the first trouble area, right? So you could have taken this, even if you take it here, right, as it's breaking out. You have your stop below this low. Stop below this low. You're just aiming for this dealing range right here, right? The first trouble area is 1.8R. Sorry. 1.8R, right? And even if you do take it to the range high and you say, okay, I'm going to aim for these highs, 3.6R, there's no shot I would have taken this past this daily level right here. I would have taken it all off right there. There's no chance I would have held that, right? Or more than a partial up into here, just because I didn't think it would happen, but dollar is just fucking ripping right now. So yeah, that's fine. Anyways, this is the mitigation trade I should have been looking for, and that's still one of my weaknesses, right? If we look back a couple weeks ago when I first started doing these reviews, that was something I've gotten a little bit better at, is noticing the mitigation trades and changing my bias intra-week, but it's still something I need to work on. So next trade. The next trade I took was actually a pound dollar short. I'm starting with a weekly chart because I'm going to show you guys what my premise was. So basically, I had this weekly level, this up move before the down move, right? So you can mark this out as a pivot if you want, right? So that's your kind of your block that you're looking at. And this was actually a pretty key high that I was looking at. I'm surprised that it didn't take that out before rejecting. So I do think it will come back up and take out this high eventually and take out this X right here. But if we look at the daily, then I was basically looking to get involved right at this weekly level, 133.1, right? Right there. So then let's look at this. So 133.1 comes in about right here. Right. So that's our weekly level that we're looking at. Um, so basically, this is the low time frame. This is the 5 minute, right? This is my entry. So I was playing this really, really tight, and I had my stop above this high, breaks down from the dealing range, retest, right? This wasn't enough of a breakdown. This wasn't really a proper trigger. I should have been holding this longer, or not holding it longer. I should have been waiting for a proper breakdown before getting in. But I got in here, and I actually ended up manually closing this trade. So we'll show you how it ended up playing out. It did actually end up hitting target. Um, so if you look, this is probably what I should have been waiting, was this trend line break right here, right? That would have been the proper trigger, not right here because it broke down and then reclaimed, right? So I actually ended up closing this trade, I think right about here, right? Because I had been sitting through all this chop, and this is totally one of those mental things that never really hit my stop loss. I would have been fine in this trade, but I closed it for -7R manually because it basically came up and I was like, all right, it's reclaiming the range. But if I'd gotten in here and I kind of knew clearly where my invalidation was, right, I did know where it is. But if I'd seen this trend line, all right, this is the break, right, I had it at that point. But at this point, I was like, all right, it reclaimed. It's probably going to reclaim this trend line and go higher. I was just exhausted. I was mentally exhausted at this point in the trade. Um, and that's definitely something I need to work on. And that's just lack of discipline, right? There's no reason I should have gotten in there. It was just antsy. I knew this is what I was wanting. I knew it was going to kind of come for these. I didn't know, but that was my high probability target, right? Um, and I played this really, really, really tight too. So that was also something else. If I played it a little bit looser, if I played it above this high or above this level right here, I might have been a little bit more patient. Um, so yeah, that was my pound dollar trade. So the next one I'm going to go into is oil. Oil is a long that I took. As soon as it was below this level, as soon as it got back above this level, I knew I wanted a long here. And I was basically aiming for this H1 block, which is my first trouble area, which is 1.75R, which is my target. And I was ultimately aiming for these highs into an H4 level that you can't really see on this picture. Um, but if we look at how it kind of played out, let's just use the replay feature. So we'll see I entered long right there, right? So got back above my level. I was like, all right, I don't really care where it goes at this point as long as it stays above this high, this low, right? Because if you look, it took kind of came up, it took out this low and then rallied. So as long as it stayed above this low right here, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get in because I had a clear invalidation level, so it doesn't really matter what happened at that point. Um, and I was aiming for this level right here, this H1 level, right? So kind of went below. I was in drawdown, right? Came back above. And then at this point, as soon as it broke above this level and it made a higher high, I was pretty confident that it would go higher. And at this point, you can start kind of scaling in if you want to take additional scalp trades with reduced risk and just kind of trail your stops aggressively, depending on what kind of trader you are. But I just took this and I was aiming for right here, basically trying to mitigate my gold. I had taken a gold loss earlier. Um, So basically, this broke through, right? Came up, hit resistance. I held it through this, broke above, and then it made this other range. And I was basically looking to get back on board or add another position once it reclaimed this and went higher. But at that point, dollar CAD was looking a little bit iffy, and so was the dollar index. So I kind of held off, and I ended up closing my trade after it broke below this and then reclaimed. I didn't think this reclaim was going to hold, So I actually closed my trade right here as soon as it came back into this resistance, this low time frame resistance level. So I closed this for 2.25R roughly, right? And then we'll go into gold. Yeah, but if you look at this, right, shit, this is definitely an exit sign. As soon as this is the H4 level I was aiming for. As soon as it breaks above this and it can't hold this, right? As soon as it can't hold this as support, then you either get the fuck out or you're looking for shorts. I probably wouldn't have shorted this, right? Because if you look, it came right back into this pivot, flip this as support and resistance, right? Flip this as support, rallies up, and then as soon as it right here, as soon as it can't get back above that Monday's higher, the H4 level, get the fuck out. All right, so this was gold. So I actually had two positions on gold. I had two longs. So this was my original long with full size, and my second long was with half size that I had tweeted about. So I actually closed this one. So I longed it right here, and I basically held it through this, held it through this, held it through this. It came down. I was in drawdown. This was the key level I was looking to hold, right? I didn't want to see it break this H4 level. This is our daily level, and this is the H4 level. So it came back down. It found support here, and then rallied, and it found basically it broke into this range right here on a low time frame. Let's look at it. This is where I cut it. This was my reason that I cut it. Is it basically held this H4 block. We can let's hide that. Held this H4 block as support, rallied, and it kind of broke back within Monday's range. And I wanted to see this hold as support and then go higher. And as soon as it kind of broke down here and then retested that, this is where I closed it. So I closed this trade for 0.25R positive. So it wasn't really much. It was pretty much a scratch for me. Okay. And then this is also another one. If dollar is looking really fucking bullish and it's into support and gold is breaking down, as soon as it breaks this high time frame level, you either get in here or you get in here. If we look at the second gold trade, I'll show you. It was kind of, I should have been getting in on that. That was the mitigation trade, was up here. But yeah, so this is the first gold long that I took, and I exited 0.25R in profit, but that was about it. It wasn't really, pretty much a scratch. Okay, this is the gold long that I tweeted about. So someone actually commented on my tweet that my stop loss was too tight. So I was like, I didn't really respond, and there was a reason I had such a tight stop, because I knew where I was wrong, and if it went below that, then I was like, fuck it, then I know I'm wrong. Why am I risking? Why am I putting my stop lower if I know I'm going to be wrong if it goes below there, right? So that's just kind of the way I was thinking about it. Whether you disagree with that or not, it's up to you. You can give your trades more room to breathe. It just depends on how you trade, what your style is, right? So this is the weekly open, and this was the second gold long that I added with half size. I tweeted about this too. So as soon as it made this, right, kind of made the structure below the weekly open and then broke above it, I wanted to take this long here on this retest. I bought this blindly, right? Because this was making higher highs or bullish market structure right here at the weekly open. So I bought this right here, and I was expecting it to rally. But as soon as it broke this pivot, it just took me out right here, which is fine, right? I wasn't really worried about that. And you could say, fine, this is into support, so I had my stop into support. You could argue that as well, right? But I knew that if it went below these lows, then I was most likely wrong, so that was fine. Basically, this was what I was looking at to get in, though, right? It was low, high, lower high, or sorry, low, high, higher, low. And this is whatever, and then it makes the higher high right here, right? And that's why I was looking to buy this, because I basically wanted to see this hold right here, right? And then you take it higher. So this was this little diagram that I had drawn out, right? I actually like to draw it out a little bit, what exactly I'm looking for at a level, because if it doesn't match it, then you're like, all right, there's no question about if this price action doesn't match exactly what you've drawn out, then there's no trigger, then you don't get in, right? And this was also just a little trend line. I was looking for confidence. I was going to say, okay, fine, this could have been support, could have gotten back above this and went higher. And at that point, if it really taken out this high, and then these highs, probably I would have gotten back in aiming for that. But you see, if this breaks, right, this breaks down, breaks below monthly open, gets back above, and it comes back and retests this, this is the mitigation trade I could have been taking, right here. Stop above these highs, fine, even if you put above these highs, right, and you take it down to here, right, just into the support, 1.67R, and if you really held it, I mean, I probably wouldn't have. Right, you could say, okay, fine, maybe 4R, stretch that, but at least right into here, the 1.6R is all you need, right, just to cut your losses on this. But that oil long is what basically recouped all my losses for me. So I ended the week up 2.05R in commodities. These were all my trades, and that was a total of 2.85R for the week. It was an up and down week. I wasn't thrilled. There's definitely a couple things I needed to work on, and a couple things I will be definitely looking forward to working on next week. I'm going to be spending the rest of the weekend on this simulator and just kind of back testing stuff. I highly recommend that if you guys don't do that already, is just go through and just replay shit, right? Put it on a 5 minute time frame, have an hourly and a daily up, draw your levels out, and then just see how price reacts to your levels and see what you would be looking for and how you'd be getting in and out, because you're only going to get so many opportunities during the day. All right, so that's kind of what I do to kind of refine my skills and practice stuff. But anyways, have a good weekend, guys. I'll do my weekly review tomorrow, and let's kill next week. Good luck, guys.